Alright, hello guys, we're live yet again. Australia versus Pakistan was the game that happened and almost ended on expected lines. We've got Soumi and Jeet joining us. काफी कुछ बात करेंगे आज के मैच के बारे में भी और importantly कल के दो मैचेस है and the one that's going to happen in the afternoon in Sharjah. That's going to be a game that a lot of Team India fans will be watching with a keen eye because of what's at stake for them as well. But before that, of course, we will talk about today's game. तो पहले मैच हम दिखा देते हैं just summarize it for those who weren't able to catch a glimpse of the game. ज़्यादा कुछ खास miss नहीं किया. Pakistan, in the absence of Fatima Sana was led by Muniba Ali. They lost the toss. वहीं पे मतलब given how big a factor toss has been, it was all they were already starting on the back foot. Australia won the toss, opted to bowl first, and it almost seemed कि यार मतलब जो भी है हम मैनेज कर लेंगे यार बैटिंग हो बॉलिंग हो दिखा देते हैं कि क्या है हम and Pakistan got off to not exactly the greatest of starts. There were a couple of changes, including that of Iram Javed replacing Fatima Sana, something Jeet also spoke about yesterday. They might look to shore up their batting reserves. Apart from that, they also replaced opener Gul Feruza with, I'm forgetting who the other batter...
Saraf.
Sadaf. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. It was Sadaf Shamas who came in and वहां से मतलब again batting did not really click despite having nearly 8 proper batting options and then also Sada Rupsha and Tuba Hassan to add. ज़्यादा कुछ click नहीं हुआ. It was just the Aussie bowlers bowling through and through. Megan Shute started off actually very well in the power play. Also ended up becoming the highest ever women's wicket taker, of course, in T20 as she overtook Nida Dar's record. Funnily enough, she took Muniba Ali's wicket, if I'm not wrong, and it was Nida Dar who walked into bat when she broke her record. So it was a nice little coincidence there. But yeah, once again, it was just their bowlers. Ashley Gardner, the pick of the bowlers there, 4 for 21 for her. Annabelle Sutherland, Georgia Warren also chipping in with a couple of wickets. Australia, in return, decided that Alisa Heaney will just do her thing, and she did do her thing. 37 of 23 before she had to walk out, retired, hurt. Again, the damage was already done in the first inning, so it wasn't something they had to be worried about. Shomi, let's start with you. Australia, again, the performance was expected, very dominant on their part, despite not having one of the key pacers. Taylor Klimek had to walk off the field in the very first over. Hardly made a difference.
Exactly. And, we didn't expect Pakistan, especially a depleted Pakistan, to go out there and kind of upset Australia's sweet apple cart. But what's heartbreaking is the amount of submission that they showed to the dominant Australian side. We were expecting some kind of a show there, but it just turned flat on its face. That's what makes it a little bit more disappointing for us as fans. But yeah, talking of Pakistan, as you rightly mentioned, they were at the back foot right from the word go, right at toss. We, of course, were also expecting that Australia will really choose to bat first. But yeah, they didn't, and they chose to chase. And they just crashed Pakistan right in the beginning, right in the power play. Pakistan just kept on gathering the records, everything on the wrong side of it. They have the lowest score at the 10th over mark. They have the lowest score against Australia. They have the lowest score in this World Cup. So nothing really went their way. Australia, on the other hand, kept dominating throughout the game. Look at their bowling unit. In spite of losing Tyler right up there, it just didn't make any much of a difference to their side in terms of their game plan. They still had 4 seamers, three spinners who just did all the wonders. Everybody was at a lesser than 6 economy. Everybody almost picked a wicket except for T-Mac. I think just speaks how formidable a side they are.
Yeah, to be honest, T-Mac right now is playing in the side as a specialist number 8, which is just ridiculous. She was she was world's number 1 all-rounder at the beginning of this year. I know she's not been in the greatest of form now, but from there to playing a specialist number 8 role is something. Again, the luxuries that they have is just obscene. But Jeet, let's start with Pakistan's batting itself. Like Shomi said, batting उन्होंने bolster किया था. They brought in additional resources. Despite that, this performance was just downright poor.
Yeah, match चालू होते ही खत्म हो गया pretty much. But हाँ, वही expected था. Without one of the key aggressive batters missing, it was always going to be a challenge, right? And yesterday only I talked about the strike rates, how The highest strike rate other than Fatima Sana is 95. And Fatima Sana, of course, being over 150. So there was a huge disparity between number one, number two. So it was always going to be a challenge, even though they bolstered their batting attack big time by adding Iram Javed, even Sadaf, who can bat and has batted in the top three as well in the past. It still didn't make a difference because, again, these are batters who don't have a lot of gears. So it's always going to be that slow struggle, and losing wickets early on also doesn't help because you're always in that mode where you have to kind of build again, solidify your position, consolidate for a long period of time. And that's exactly what they had to keep doing. So it was always going to be a catch up game. And I was not too surprised with them, getting bundled out for such a cheap score. Even though Dubai is known to be one of the better locations where, runs have been scored. We saw a couple of days ago where, plethora of runs were scored by India and South Africa. It was not going to be very simple for, Pakistan to replicate that against a team like Australia. So very uninspiring, but they don't have those batters. As simple as that. Once I know I'm again going back to that name, but Aisha Naseem was gone. It was always going to be challenging because she was one of the few batters who had that intent, was that outstanding talent that I was genuinely excited for. Come at any game, that was the one name that I used to always look forward to because of her prowess, given how she had the ability to take on the bowlers with those big hits. Without her, it was left to only Fatima Sana. Niradhar has completely diminished as well in terms of that attacking intent. So very uninspiring, and it's not really surprising though.
Yeah, and Aisha Naseem, of course, you and me both, my friend. Like, just it's a terrible loss for them, terrible loss for cricket in Pakistan because, yeah, I remember watching Pakistan games. In fact, that Pakistan Island game, I was the one where Manipali scored a century and whatnot. I remember in my thinking, यार तुम out हो जाओ, अच्छा है तुम अच्छा कर रही हो, लेकिन मुझे आयशा नसीम को ही देखना है. Again, fantastic talent that like with it's a miss for women's cricket in general for all of us fans who would want to see such talents come up. But theek hai, I mean, what's lost is lost. Something that we can't something we can't really fault the team for. But it's not just the fact that they got out. Sure, Australia is a much stronger side, so it's not going to be easy. But the manner in which those dismissals happened, yeah, like even like first, let's talk about Manipali, skipper. The way it was so soft, she just chipped it straight to mid wicket. Phoebe Litchfield, yeah, matlab, kya, like it's just the manner. There were too many soft dismissals. Soft dismissals. They clearly didn't seem to be a plan in place. यार ऐसे खेलते हैं, ऐसे करना है, ये कर सकते हैं. Nothing was working for them.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah,
I'll
it's
just use one term. I mean, they were tame. They were just tame dismissals from the first wicket to the last wicket of Asia Riaz. And that is where I can still, to an extent, understand that some of the shots were where they were trying to find those boundaries or hit those gaps or trying to go over the fielder, but it was not working out. It was a power game established, so it's always going to be a challenge here. You won't be able to generate that power if you're not used to doing that, and that's exactly what we saw with most of the batters here. But very disappointing from all of them. Last bit, though, I can understand with Alia Riaz having ran out of all partners, she had to attack, so she was kind of trying to loft every ball out of the ground, and in due course or because of that, she of course put one up in the air and she was caught eventually. But yeah, very tame overall, if I have to put it in one word.
And show me, sir, you were also saying something.
Yeah, I think exactly the same thing. I mean, I mean, it was frustrating to see that they were actually trying, but yes, the lack of power, plus, of course, the slow outfield didn't help their case. No boundaries till the ninth over, and overall four boundaries. That to Alia Riaz made some attempts, absolutely, and at the fag end, and got a few there, but it was very frustrating. In fact, I recall like when Nidadar was playing, she was also trying so hard, but nothing was really connecting, nothing was really going to the ropes. It was just frustrating to watch as a viewer.
Yeah, and again, of course, Fatima Sana also again being a massive miss for them. But yeah, jo hai so hai. You can't really hold that against or use that as an excuse. Sure, it's a big miss, but the way they played, hopefully, they learn from this and they are able to emerge better. You like they say, you win some, you learn some. Hopefully, they get to learn from these mistakes and failures and take it in their stride. Pawan Suresh, meanwhile, saying, love your shows. Thank you so much, Pawan. Please make sure you hit the like button if you haven't already. And please subscribe to us. देखो ऐसे मतलब आपको और अपने प्रोडक्शन क्वालिटी को बढ़ावा देने का मौका मिल रहा है अपने को. थैंक यू सो मच once again. But yeah, पाकिस्तान की बैटिंग तो मतलब कुछ खास थी नहीं. Australia keep batting on the other hand. I know, like, it's not the greatest of sides. Like, I feel like I sound like a broken record. Every time we talk about Australia's batting, एक disclaimer देना पड़ता है कि पता है कि opponent कुछ खास नहीं है, opposition की bowling attack उतनी अच्छी नहीं है. But show me, you can't not love what you see about this Aussie batting lineup. Yeah, they're just there. They know they have to be thorough professionals. 80 टारगेट हो 70 टारगेट हो ये स्लो करके नहीं खेलना उनको सीधा मारना उनको पता है उनका क्या है व्हाट देयर स्ट्रेंथ्स आर एंड Lisa he goes for it.
Exactly, and the manner in which Alisa Healy actually approached the game was so refreshing after that entire dull first innings of batting. It was just so refreshing to watch that entire power play where at least 7 boundaries were hit, and that's the way of that's the kind of T20 cricket we want to watch, right? So exceedingly entertaining there, and also the fact that just that Sadia could just even break through that one wicket of Betmone kind of shows that she has some potential, and she has been in the good realm of things in the last couple of matches, and she does have some potential to take Pakistan higher up. But yeah, apart from that, definitely there was nothing from the Pakistan bowling side of things. For Beth Mooney also, the kind of the couple of shots that she hit before she got out, those were also pretty exciting to watch. So over and above, that small spell was exciting, but of course, barring Alisa Healy's injury at the end, that is something that Australia will definitely keep an eye out for. And at least the commentators were saying that it doesn't look good. And if that happens, then it will be quite a blow.
Yeah, it did look a bit grave, to be honest. And like Rahul also here mentions, it seems like Grace Harris will open the innings and Alana King might also get a chance in place of Laming, and Mooney will be doing the keeping duties. What do you guys think? We will get to that in due course because the next match is against India. It might not be an important game for Australia, but we, all of us in India, will be watching it, with a very close focus on how the Australian side shapes up. But Jeet, Lisa Healy, again, that'll be a huge for them, irrespective of who the opponent is, because she was the one who was, setting the platform for them up top in the power play. Abhi, how do you look at this? Do you see them, like he mentions, bringing in someone like a Grace Harris up top to open and then going the spin route, or do you see it panning another way?
I think this match is in Sharjah, right? Yeah, it's at Sharjah. Yeah, so it will be Grace Harris because I particularly remember Alisa Healy at the toss mentioning that they had picked Grace Harris at Sharjah for the impact. Impact was a term that she had used. And similarly, this was, of course, referencing to even Taylor Blaming for this game, that they are taking her in Grace Harris's place for that impact that, Pacers have had at Dubai. So going back to Sharjah, it has to be Grace Harris logically. But I still think there is a good chance that Elise Perry might, go up at number 1, and she's going to open alongside Beth Mooney. They might stick to Georgia Verem at number 3 now. Irrespective of when the wicket falls, Georgia Verem might walk in number 3, and then they'll have Grace Harris coming in at whatever 5 or 6 or her usual positions. But I think that is a change I see if that injury is, a bit of a serious concern. I do remember, she having had a similar injury back in 2022 as well against India in, I think, the 4th game or somewhere. She had a similar calf issues and she was ruled out of the last game or last couple of games. So it was that same injury that even she has suffered. So it's a big blow irrespectively, because now another challenge is not only, of course, it's not only the batting forefront, right? We've also got to look at the wicket keeping. And now it's going to be Beth Mooney who's going to be, keeping the wickets. And she'll be opening as well. Or do they have any other options? Am I missing any names?
I'm just trying to think who else. Like backup के लिए Beth Mooney है और कोई है नहीं. Squad
नहीं है. So कोई नहीं है. So it has to be Beth Mooney who'll have to keep wickets. And that Sarah Bryce thing that I've been talking about is the same fate that Beth Mooney is going to suffer. Now just imagine. 40 overs. And now just imagine over there. It was probably game 1, right? Where Beth Mooney, of course, was playing as just a fielder. She was not even a wicket keeper, and she batted for such a long time. And we saw how exhausted she was. Now, how is she going to manage to keep for 20 wickets and then bat out for such a long period of time? So it's going to be a different challenge for her. So, of course, Australia would hope that it's not that serious of an injury for Alisa Healy. But otherwise, I think it's going to definitely affect them because Beth Mooney, we know, is a slow starter. Plus, she'll have the added responsibility of keeping the wickets. And if they offer Elise Perry, then even she has again become that slow starter. She struggles for those initial 7 to 10 balls after which she accelerates. And even in those 7 to 10 balls, she gives you quite a few chances here to dismiss her. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go about these things. If they offer Grace Harris, I wouldn't really mind that, but it's going to be a bit of a risky move given that she's coming on the back of an injury and he has just played one game where she was out for a first ball duck. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of a strategy that they deploy for that particular game.
Yeah, Vishal and Abha's also asking us, that he didn't watch the game, but heard that Australians are injured. Yeah, there are two of them, Taylor Waymank and Elisa Healy. So sure, Grace Harris for Taylor Waymank makes sense, direct swap, because it's anyway going to be in Sharjah, and that's the swap they went for the last time they moved to Sharjah. Show me, what do you think? Who's coming into the side in place of Elisa Healy? Given that this is in Sharjah, do you see them again going for another spin option in Alana King, like Rahul mentioned, or do you look at another pacer also making the cut there?
I think they do have a very strong, bowling arsenal that's there with them right now. I mean, literally might just depend on the condition on that particular day, and what are the kind of things that they want to try out before getting into that big knockout phase. So that might be one thing that can decide. But if they really have to take care of this injury at the longer term, I don't think they might. They could even try out a pure, a good hitter batter who can be slotted in. Though they do not have any dearth of batters as well, but yeah, that can also be an option that they can look at.
Yeah, true that. Like, do you see Alana King potentially making the cut there? Because again, it's not like they're lacking spinners, but एक खुद 11 लोग तो चाहिए भाई फील्ड पे.
It's going to be a call between Alana King or Kim Garth, in my opinion. It's going to be one of the two. Of course, both can bat, so that's out of the question. But in terms of, I'm just looking at it from the matchups perspective, wherein Alana King being a wrist spinner and India's informed batter being Harmanpreet and her weaknesses against wrist spin, in
Yeah.
particular Alana King. So from that perspective, there is a chance that she might get the nod ahead of Kim Garth, and it's going to be a fair move. Yeah, Sharjah mein, again, Alana King is a much better wrist spinner than Georgia Wareham, a lot more attacking as well. So it's probably going to be worth it. Yeah, I would not really mind that, and it completely merits it as well because of the venue and the opponent overall as well. So she would be that crucial cog in the middle order as well for them. So there is a good chance that she might, just about make the cut over Kim Garth or even Darcy Brown.
Yeah, so let's see what happens. Australia, of course, play their next game, which is also their last game in the group stages, on Sunday, the 13th, against India. The game's coming live from Sharjah. We'll preview it tomorrow, of course. आज के लिए हमारे पास कल के 2 games है. We won't talk about the game itself, but yeah, in terms of what they can do with their 11 and possible changes, that's that. John, we're also going on to mention Australia's depth is ridiculous. Even when Taylor was injured, they didn't need Perry to bowl. Talia is ranked number 2 in ICC T20I batting rankings and comes in at number 8. The 2024 100 player of the tournament comes at number 9. I'm guessing she's referring to Annabelle Sutherland. If she's coming in at number 9, the WPL 2024 WPL player of the final is coming in at number 10. Who bats at number 4 for her WBBL franchise? Sophie Molyneux. So, भाई डेप्थ तो मतलब क्या ही बोले है, मतलब भयंकर है डेप्थ. तो क्या देखते हैं अभी क्या होता है इसके साथ. India, of
Acha, एक
course.
चीज बताओ कि in case, I mean, both of these players gets ruled out, do they have to take in somebody they can replace somebody in the squad, as I think Rahul had mentioned that.
Yeah, traveling reserves में से अगर उनको replace करना है तो कर सकते हैं. That's an option. Just like how Pakistan also replaced Fatima Sana with Sadaf Shamas, who wasn't a part of the 15. She was a part of the traveling reserves. So Australia can also do that. We've already seen that happen so far in any other side. No, I guess Pakistan was the first side to do so. So they can, but I don't see them having to do that. मतलब again, resources की कमी नहीं है, सब कुछ है
But
उनकी.
from the wicket keeping point of view, isn't there a possibility that they can pull in someone? Because
I don't think there's anyone even a part of the traveling reserves. Beth Mooney hai, they'll have to rely on her. That's the way the cookie crumbles, I guess. I don't know if it'll come in India's favor, but let's hope that does happen. Anyways, that's that from the game we saw today. Time for us to now look ahead and talk about tomorrow's games. It's a double-header now. It's a weekend, of course. First one, the all-important New Zealand-Sri Lanka encounter coming live from Sharjah at 3:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. And then, of course, it's a Group B encounter between Bangladesh and South Africa. And that game's coming live from Dubai at 7:30 p.m. Again, this is also interesting because tomorrow is the first time where a double header is happening across both the venues. So, which means there'll be fresh pitches for both sides. So, you cannot rely on हाँ पहला match जो हुआ था उसके हिसाब से हम लोग adjust कर सकते. So, that will have another sort of interesting dimension that we have to look at. But let's start with the first game, of course, New Zealand versus Sri Lanka. I know all Team India fans will be rooting for Sri Lanka here कि भाई चलो हमने मारा आपको पता है परसों, लेकिन प्लीज आज दिखा दो अपना जलवा. Chamari, just show what you're made of and what not. Jeet, क्या लग रहा है यहाँ पे? Because the games in Sharjah, we've spoken about New Zealand's struggles against spin, we've spoken about Sri Lanka's lack of intent, we've spoken about all of these things. But how do you see this panning out tomorrow?
I think Sri Lanka would start as slight favorites because New Zealand haven't played a day game, if I recollect. Their two games haven't been day games yet. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge for them. And again, difficult conditions as well. And whilst, a loss does not knock them out, it's still imperative for them to win so that, they stay in contention or stay in with a shout of making it through ahead of India. So it's definitely, possible that Sri Lanka can kind of edge them because right now Sri Lanka are knocked out for sure. So they don't have any baggage, right? They know the tournament is done and dusted. There is no pressure about anything, no boundary scoring, nothing. So just go out there, express yourselves, take whatever risk you want to. Worst case scenario is losing. You've already lost three games, so a fourth loss doesn't make any difference. You're out of the tournament. So they might as well go out there with a positive intent and be a lot more aggressive. There is definitely a chance that somebody like Chamari Atapattu might open up finally. She was being very, very conservative in terms of her approach in the power play. She was, trying to be very, very defensive. And some of the movements as well in the crease have stopped. It's something that I've observed. When she's moving freely in the crease, it's a good sign that she's in form and she's looking to attack. But when those movements stop in the crease against the spinners in particular, it's a sign that she's being very, very conservative in her approach and not trying to take as many risks as she generally does. So there's a good chance that even she might open up, and then again it just takes one knock from Chamari Atapattu to knock any team out. And New Zealand have bore the brunt of that in the past. So I wouldn't be surprised if Sri Lanka just about edged them.
All right, and before we go to Shomi, of course, just to make it clear in terms of what the qualification scenario looks like right now, New Zealand losing to Sri Lanka does not necessarily knock them out of the tournament. And to be honest, it does not even make India favorites because India will still have to defeat Australia to ensure कि अपनी तरफ से सब कुछ कर दें. Should India defeat Australia and New Zealand lose at least one of their remaining two games between Pakistan and Sri Lanka, both teams will be tied, and that's when the next run rate will come into picture. So India has to ensure everything from there in. New Zealand also has to ensure कि boss कम से कम एक match जीत ले, and they would still be in pole position, to be honest, because of the fact that they're playing against Sri Lanka and Pakistan, who you would imagine are slightly weaker opponents compared to Australia, of course. On the other hand, should India lose their game to Australia, they will have to rely on New Zealand losing both their remaining games against Sri Lanka and Pakistan. That's the only way they'll be able to make it through. And India is already at a disadvantage here because New Zealand play their encounter against Pakistan after India play against Australia, which means New Zealand will be clear about what the situation is like, net run rate requirements क्या है, क्या खेलना है, कैसे खेलना है, सब उनको पता होगा. So India will have to ensure. Basically, point being, जो भी हो, सिनारियो सिंपल है, इंडिया को अपनी तरफ से मैच जीतना है, उसके बाद जो होगा दिखा जाएगा. But anyways, coming back, of course, show me New Zealand, Sri Lanka, like Jeet mentioned, Chamari alone can do it, and given that there's no baggage and also the kind of humiliation they would have faced given the defeat, they would want to express themselves even more, and that's what I've been manifesting since the end of the first innings of the India-Sri Lanka encounter. इतना खराब हो ये गेम ताकि वो अगले मैच में आके फोड़ दे एकदम. But do you see that happening tomorrow?
Yeah, it's really tough. Though, I mean, Sri Lanka has all the, they need to play for honor. They need to play for getting back that lost prestige. But at the same time, if we just look into New Zealand's journey, New Zealand came into this tournament at the back of a string of losses, and they had the two toughest team of the group to face, of which they have toppled one and they have lost to another in a pretty crushing manner. But that's the reality of most of the teams in this tournament. They lose to Australia in that kind of a manner. So going into this particular encounter, even the next one, New Zealand will probably be in a much happier state of mind compared to what we would imagine. So uh, there are high chances that they will. I mean, of course, the bigger chances that they will take this through. And honestly, as a fan, I would also want them to make it through because, as you rightly mentioned, इंडिया की किस्मत बहुत ज्यादा इंडिया के हाथ में है, and India needs to earn their position. it's they need to really make it through and get that spot rather than really relying on, I mean, how much worse New Zealand can get. And anyway, New Zealand losing both to Sri Lanka and Pakistan is quite not on the tables, is what I would say. And also, I mean, we all love Sophie Devine so much. We definitely want her to get through the line.
नहीं, बहुत प्यार करते हैं, बहुत रिस्पेक्ट भी है, बट यार छोड़ दो, ये छोड़ दो, बच्चों के लिए छोड़ दो प्लीज. Before I get to Jeet, of course, a few comments. Darshan going on to say New Zealand win it, India could get knocked out should they lose to Australia. That's true, because it means New Zealand have the potential to reach 6 points. On the other hand, India will end the tournament on only 4 points. So yeah, that is going to play a role there. No Asian team in the semis. Well, as things stand, you would imagine New Zealand are in pole position to make it through to the semis. Should that happen, then yeah, there won't be any Asian side or Asian contribution in the semi-finals. If New Zealand lose tomorrow, India can lose to Australia and still qualify, regardless of who wins between New Zealand and Pakistan, provided they lose to Australia as a close one. All three teams would be tied on 4, no? Australia, when you say three teams, okay, so she's assuming that Pakistan wins against New Zealand, India loses to Australia, and New Zealand defeats, or New Zealand loses to Sri Lanka. In that case, Pakistan will be on 4, India will be on 4, New Zealand will only be on 2 points, right? Should New Zealand lose both their remaining games, they'll only be on 2. But I get what you're saying. New Zealand lose tomorrow and win against Pakistan, it means New Zealand and India will be tied on 4, and Australia will, of course, be on 8. So it won't be 3 teams tied on 4, it'll be 2 teams only at any point in time. But again, New Zealand losing against Fatima Sana less Pakistan is actually very unlikely. You can almost तुम मान के चलो कि न्यूजीलैंड ये दो में से एक जीत ही रहा है. So for India the equation is simple. Australia को हराना है. Anyways, coming back now, Jeet. New Zealand now, in terms of their 11, we saw what they did the last time they played against Australia. It was Fran Jonas who made it to the side in place of Jessica. There was also Leah Tahuhu and who was it? Rosemary Mayer, taking care of the pace duties. Do you see any changes there? Do you see them replacing one of the pacers, Leah Tahuhu maybe even, and bring in another spinner? I'm trying to... Lee Kasparik is there अभी भी, जिनको मौका नहीं मिला है.
यार मैं तो गेम 1 से चाह रहा हूँ ली कैस्परिक खेले, बट लेते ही नहीं है sadly. I'm hoping at least this is the game where they pick her ahead of Fran Jonas. Fran Jonas is somebody that I've been not wanting in the playing 11. Of course, I've got my own reasons, but again, it will make a lot more sense to pick Lee Kasparik at Sharjah against Sri Lanka that have so many left-handers. And irrespective, left-handers or right-handers, Kasparik has good record against both. And even against Sri Lanka specifically, she has got a very good record in the T20. So I would personally, again, continue to prefer Lee Kasparik, and I'm sure New Zealand will continue to leave her out. So it's a lost cause for me. But besides that, I don't know, maybe from matchups perspective or something, maybe they can look to go for Jessica, because over here we have seen the kind of bowlers or the kind of pacers that have been working, right? It's those medium pace trundlers who have been working over here, whether it's Megan Shoot getting the job done, Lisa Ely standing up to the stumps, or Ritu Moni with, who's it? Nigar Sultana standing up to the stumps, Talia Megra, Nadine de Klerk. It's all these medium pace trundlers who have been getting the job done. So similar role can be played by Jessica with Izzy Gay standing up to the stumps, bowling her in swing early on and then just banking upon her leg cutters. So that could be a role that, potentially New Zealand could be looking at, which means that her phase distribution might change. It's not that she's going to, end up bowling 3 in the power play like she usually does, or 3 in the first 10 overs. It might be divided into 2. Say a spell of 2 overs with a new ball, and again 2 overs after 10 overs are done, where she just comes in and bowls those cutters. And we've seen how incredibly useful Megan Shoot has been at this when you're doing the same thing, same variations. That's it. Both have got the same variations, and we have seen it work for Megan Shoot, so it should work for Jessica as well, is what New Zealand's thinking might be over here. So they might look to add her. Who goes out becomes a bit of a question, because Sri Lanka, the pacers, I think New Zealand have got enough pacers. It's just that the spin attack will get weakened, right? Because then they'll only have Eden Carson and Millie Kerr. So who's the other one? So if they leave out Fran Jonas, then it becomes a bit of a tough one. So I think it might as well be somebody like Leah Tahu who could go out in that case, because that's a change that I think had happened, right, initially. Or all 3 had played, right? When Fran Jonas was injured, all 3 had played, right? So this time maybe somebody like Dia might actually sit out this time around, and it might be Jessica who might be preferred over her. Or if, say, New Zealand want to bank experience over here, and they don't want to take any risk over here, then they might continue to back Liatau and take Chesker in place of Fran Jonas.
But I mean, just out of curiosity, since you mentioned that you personally wouldn't, aren't the biggest fan of Fran Jonas, but given the surface and the conditions on offer, you would want to bet on Fran Jonas, a spin over Leah Tahuhu, a pacer, right?
और वो स्पिन कहाँ डालती है, वही तो प्रॉब्लम है ना. शी इज दैट outswing bowler to left-handers, and that's the whole problem of it. That's the main reason why I don't want in her side. Somebody like Lee Kasparek somebody like Fran Jonas operating at 95 Ks on the Sharjah pitch versus somebody like Lee Kasparek who might potentially operate in that 75 to 80 range on the Sharjah pitch are two very different things, and we know what's working out of the two. So that's the only perspective, and that's the only strategic viewpoint that I've got why I would want to, have Lee Kasparek played every game ahead of Fran Jonas. But sadly, New Zealand's thought process has been very different, and well, it hasn't worked out for them though with Fran Jonas.
Hashtag Ben Sawyer FC. But again, on this, Lee Kasparek does make sense also because Sri Lanka have a fair few left-handers in their top order. There are three. I know Hasini Pereira didn't play the last game, but should she also come back, then there is Chamari. There's also Harshita Madhvi, who is a left-hander. So given that matchup-wise also, it would make sense to देखते हैं वहाँ पे क्या होता है. And in terms of the game itself, Soumi, last thoughts, क्या लग रहा है, like result-wise? Do you think Sri Lanka can edge past New Zealand? Do you see New Zealand, easily overcoming the obstacle there?
I do see New Zealand easily overcoming the obstacle. And if Sri Lanka can produce a miracle there, then it'll be really exciting to watch. But chances are pretty low. Though they have done something extraordinary in the past, they have defeated New Zealand by 10 wickets in 2023. So all of those things does come in handy for for Sri Lanka. Also saying that Sri Lanka does have the resources, and also the playing conditions in Sharjah does give them certain amount of advantages in terms of the resources they have. But what's really bothering for me in terms of Sri Lanka, at least the way I have seen them in the last couple of matches, is definitely their confidence has been dent to a great extent. Their body languages is completely showing up. I remember, I think it's during the India game where I don't recall exactly that Chamari missed a boundary and then she just kind of sat down at the boundary line. So all of these things kind of show that they are not in the best positive frame of mind. So if they can overcome that and come out there thinking that they have nothing to lose and they have all the lost prestige to regain, they might show some element. But New Zealand definitely has the advantage.
चलो देखते हैं क्या होता है, of course, and that game is coming live from Sharjah at 3:30 p.m. So that's the first of the two games that we will be seeing tomorrow, which is hopefully a spectacular Saturday. The second game is a Group B encounter between Bangladesh and South Africa, and that's coming live from Dubai, 7:30 p.m. Like we said earlier, a nice little twist to tomorrow's doubleheader is the fact that both games are being played across across the two venues. So both games will be played on fresh pitches. So which makes tomorrow's Bangladesh-South Africa encounter the first day-night game or the first night game on a fresh pitch. So that way, already it is going to be advantage South Africa, given their pacers and given how they have done well in Dubai. Now on top of that, they'll be bowling to a side that struggled big time. Jeet bhai, क्या हाल है? मतलब कितने रन की defeat expect कर रहे हो यहाँ पे?
Very sadly, because it's the ideal venue out of the two for South Africa and the most unideal venue for Bangladesh out of the two. So yeah, I mean, the odds are stacked up heavily against Bangladesh for this particular game. South Africa, I think, will continue to back their guns. What's been working, the same 11, all these players, they don't want to risk it, right? Because a loss could potentially knock them out. England, I know officially or mathematically they may not be out, but it will still logically make sense or practically make sense that a loss will pretty much knock them out of this competition. So that win is going to be imperative for them. It's of course good that they've got Bangladesh as an opponent. So had this game been in Sharjah, I would have been a lot more interested to see the kind of battle that we would have got. But Dubai mein dal diya yaar. Now we'll have to hope that Maruf Akhtar comes into play, Jahanara Alam plays as well over here, and all these Bangladesh pacers come into the party and doing the job, because expecting a lot out of the spinners on these kind of surfaces is not, it's a big ask here. So I'm not expecting a lot of impact from their spinners over here. So South Africa yaar, will be fancying the chances big time.
Yeah, and also doesn't help that Bangladesh haven't played in Dubai so far, so this is going to be their first ever encounter in Dubai. On the other hand, South Africa have played 2 games here, so they also have a better understanding of the surface. So, like Jeet said, the odds are heavily stacked against Bangladesh. It'll take uh, a really solid performance from them to be able to overcome, these Proteas. Before I get to show me, of course, Darshan also asking us, could Sri Lanka make a fight if they win the toss and bat first? The day game at Sharjah, day games in Sharjah have seen the pitch tending to be a bit slow. Fair enough, and not just should they bat first. I'm saying in general, Sri Lanka, I personally think they have a decent enough chance in terms of how their 11 stacks up against New Zealand in Sharjah. So I'm not counting Sri Lanka completely out here. Like I would happily count Bangladesh out. I hope I don't have to eat my words tomorrow. I'd happily do that. But Sri Lanka still stand a fair chance against New Zealand.
But at least we have previously seen that, it's generally Sri Lanka who have opted to always chase against New Zealand in the recent times, including that ODI and the T20 series that took place a couple of years ago. They like preferred to chase because they knew that it took that one knock from Chamari Attappattu to win the game. And that's exactly what transpired back then. So it might be a similar case this time around, where they might look to chase. But having said that, one of the key changes that might potentially take place is Sashini Gimani finally getting a game. Just unleash your wrist spinner. Even though she's 15 years old, unleash your wrist spinner in this game. Done and dusted है. Tournament khatam ho gaya hai. Here's a chance to give a youngster, all the freedom to go out there, express herself, and take on the big guns of New Zealand and get the job done. And it's a new variety. And I've always loved that new variety because it's such a rarity. Not only in men's cricket, but women's cricket mein to hai hi nahi almost. 4 ya 5 hi hai. So I would love to see, that 15-year-old Sashini Gimani, being given a game here, makes a debut at the world stage, and put in a very, very impactful performance.
Yep, like I remember WPL making the rounds during the auction last time around when Mumbai picked up, what was the name? Amanpreet Kaur? Was it something on those lines? Very similar to Amanjot Kaur, but it wasn't Amanjot Kaur, who was also a left arm wrist spinner. Unfortunately, did not get a game, but yeah, like Jeet said, just the rarity of that bowling type makes it that much more. Amandeep Kaur, thank you so much, Darshan. So just the rarity of it makes it even more, exclusive. What is this option like? How is she? What can she do and stuff? But देखने क्या होता है? Sri Lanka, of course, aren't a side that you can count out so easily. So fingers crossed they will be able to do well. Now, fingers crossed, of course, from Team India fans' perspective, all you Kiwis down under. Best of luck for you guys as well. Let's see क्या होता है कल. But coming back to the Bangla South Africa encounter, show me. We know that the odds are heavily stacked in South Africa's favor, but क्या लगता है Bangladesh के लिए? What's there in it for them? Like, how do you see them navigating this game tomorrow?
Honestly, after seeing them perform against West Indies, I mean, the chances look very bleak. Also, we have been hearing that Nigar Sultana is injured, so I don't know whether she takes on the field tomorrow. If that's not the case, then that's even a heavier blow for them. But at the same time, I mean, imagine if Bangladesh can pull this through. I mean, they will still keep their chances in this tournament alive, and what a story that would be. Again, we haven't seen any upset in this tournament as of now. So at least one should be there up in the cards, right? So if this is that, then there'll be like the story will be really exciting. But yeah, I mean, looking at the way South Africa had been, the way Laura Woolbart had been batting, I think it's and considering it's Dubai, South Africa will have immense amount of advantage to start with.
Yeah, it's good to know that Neha's optimism has been replaced by Soumi there, because I don't think neither Jeet nor I would be that optimistic. We'd love for that to happen. And we'd be thrilled ourselves. Like we said, we're happy to wipe the egg off our faces should Bangladesh be able to overcome South Africa. But it's just that logically, तुम देखोगे, rationally, वो possibilities बहुत कम है. But sure, let's hope. Let's hope it
No, I'm
works
not.
out.
I'm not really hoping. I mean, it's definitely not a Karan Johar movie, but yeah, I mean, I mean, if there's an upset at all, then this will be, it'll be one story to tell for ages.
100%. And they came eerily close to overcoming England यार on Saturday, which is why I'm even more disappointed कि अगर वो game मतलब कैसे भी करके जीत जाते, it would have meant the world to all their fans, to the team itself. But yeah, let's see. Let's see. We shouldn't count them out completely for sure. But Jeet, talking about South Africa now, there's a semi-final spot on the line in some sense. You would imagine they are favorites to grab that second spot behind England. But West Indies are still there because they have that game against England. Should West Indies defeat England, then they'll also come to 6 points. South Africa will also only reach 6 points. So net run rate is something they will be keeping an eye on. So do you see them again go all out against Bangladesh, similar to what West Indies have been doing in the last two games?
They'll replicate the same template that they've been following because it's been working as well for them. So I don't see a need for them to change that either. And yeah, of course, I mean, in terms of personnel as well, I don't see any changes here. Right? Sab chal raha hai, so they wouldn't want to tinker around with that when you're winning the game. So I don't see any of that happening. It's just that, and when I say the same template, it still means that Laura Woolward attacks in the power play, Tasman Brits plays slowly, Anika Bosch walks in number 3, struggles for 5-10 balls, gets out, and then again, it's all upon Marzan Kaap and other players, stepping in. It's that template. But yeah, it should still work around for them because yeah, Dubai or kya chahiye? Because we saw by West Indies, Haley Matthews struggled against Marzan Cap in the day game with that swing by Shati Rani, and I don't know what to expect out of Shati Rani or Dilara Akhtar against the class of Marzan Cap. If they come off, or if the swing is not a lot on offer for Marzan Cap, then things could be a little different. But it will take a lot out of them to kind of put Marzan Kaap under pressure and get the job done for Bangladesh. But for South Africa, it's well sorted. They don't need to change anything. That's already been working. So should be an easy one for them.
Again, like if it was only Kaap moving the ball around तो सोच लेते. दूसरे एंड से खाका भी खराब तो बिल्कुल नहीं करी. She's been equally threatening with the new ball. तो मतलब भाई इधर कुआं मतलब आगे कुआं पीछे खाए. I'm guessing that's a मुहावरा. तो वैसा वाला situation है. But देखते हैं क्या होता है. And in terms of personnel changes, yeah, sure. I don't see South Africa making too many changes simply because they would want to give enough game time to each of these 11 players, given that they might most likely reach the semi-finals as well. So yeah, they would want to ensure everyone is in good rhythm. But yeah, Bangladesh ke liye bhi, we can only be hopeful. Last thing though, Jeet, in terms of Bangladesh's 11, you spoke about how someone like a Janara Alam might come into the side. This is their first game in Dubai. You would imagine that they will bring in a couple of pacers, at least one pacer, if not more. So what's the swap you're looking at? Who do you think will miss out?
There is an outside chance of Taj Nihar actually missing out this time, finally. And Disha Biswas also could get a go. I'm just thinking it from another perspective here where we know how much, Taj Nihar has been struggling. So if you pick Jahanara, you get that bowling value, you get that extra pacer, but batting value, TK Yama, she can hit a few sixes, but it's still not somebody that you depend upon. But with Disha Biswas, you can definitely, kind of bank upon, say, 2 or 3 overs. And she has taken new ball as well for her under-19 side during the World Cup when she led Bangladesh, of course. And she can bat as well in the middle order. So that's a lot more value to get out of her as compared to Jahanara Alam. So while Jahanara Alam is a lot more threatening bowler than Disha Biswas adds a lot more value in both the facets. So that is the perspective I've got where Taj Nihar might be left out for Disha Biswas. That's the one change that I feel is realistically possible.
And you're expecting all of Nahida, Murshida, and Rabia Khan, everyone holding on to the spot and bowling for them.
Not Murshida. Murshida is not in the 11. So
Sorry,
Nahida,
sorry.
Fahima.
Yeah.
Fahima is what you meant. Yeah, Fahima and Rabia all are going to hold on to their spots because, again, they don't need to change anything. All three have been doing a pretty decent job. So they'll probably continue to back them. I'm just thinking whether Sultana won't come into the side because they don't have any left-handers, South Africa. So she's, probably going to stay
So
out. So, yeah, that's the only change that I see.
also,
Other
do you think that,
spinners will remain the same.
yeah, like since Dilara has not really been performing, is it a good choice to bring back Murshida to have that at least that left and right hand combination up there in the top?
I personally would have loved that. I would have never changed that from game one. But given that Dilara made that 19
Last
of
game.
18 in the last game, that could perhaps, see Bangladesh stick with her. क्योंकि वो थोड़ा तो intent किसी ने दिखाया था. किसी का तो strike rate had gone above 100. जो शती रानी का भी नहीं जा रहा है. So you wouldn't want to change that is what I think. That knock will help her, keep her position.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if Disha comes in. Where do they actually slot her in? D Generation X also going on to say she looked good with the bat in the warm-up game against Sri Lanka. She scored 3-4 boundaries. So again, she definitely can handle herself with the bat, but do they slot her in at number 4? Number 5, sorry. It'll be interesting to see because, sorry, Jeet. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, number 6 is what I think. She'll probably be in the lower middle order, in my opinion. They won't bat her in the top 5. Lower middle order mein aayegi. I think Shorna and all these batters will get promoted. Ritu Modi potentially. Disha Biswas will be kept for those last 5 overs, given her exploits against Sri Lanka in the warm-up game.
Alright, chalo dekhte hain. Tanveer meanwhile saying even the Bangladesh men's side couldn't score. I mean, they don't have players who can score 50 of 20 balls. How do you expect the women to do? मतलब निखिल भाई वहां पे रो रहे होंगे तौहिद रिदवान ने क्या खराब किया है 50 of 20 तो मारा था ना 42 of 21 if I'm not wrong against श्रीलंका in the World Cup और क्या चाहिए तनवीर भाई मतलब देखते हैं who knows शती रानी might turn over a new leaf और कुछ नहीं तो एजेस के थ्रू ही अगर इतना मूवमेंट होगा एजेस के थ्रू 3-4 चौके आ गए तो क्या पता हो जाएगा स्ट्राइक रेट 200 का. But anyways, that's that in terms of our preview for both the games tomorrow. But last bit, of course, prediction time. New Zealand, Sri Lanka. तो हम मतलब बोल चुके हैं. Show me let's say New Zealand. Jeet, prediction क्या लग रहा है? Who do you think can win tomorrow?
यार, first of all, तो बहुत tough है यार, क्योंकि I know New Zealand are the favorites in terms of the squad that both the teams have got. I would obviously any day rate New Zealand above Sri Lanka in terms of the strength in all departments. Or just that, given that Sri Lanka are knocked out, they are playing for pride. I mean, they know there is nothing more to lose, whereas New Zealand will be under pressure. Plus, first time for them, playing a day game, plus Sharjah, so they've got plenty of things going against them heading into this crucial encounter. So only from that perspective, or keeping these particular things in mind, I think Sri Lanka might start as slight favorites. So it's more like, say, 55-45 in my view. Second game is rather clear-cut, where it's more like 80-20. I'm still giving a 20% chance to Bangladesh because women's cricket mein kuch bhi ho sakta hai, especially in an ICC tournament. So I'm not ruling out Bangladesh as yet, but I think it's still a rather clearer result as compared to the first one.
I mean, he's given 20% to Bangladesh. That's 20% more than what I'm willing to give to them. Unfortunately, because of how difficult it's going to be. Meanwhile, D Generation X also saying Sri Lanka will win if Susie Bates scores a 50. नहीं भाई कल के जो मतलब कल जो सरफेस पे खेलेंगे वहां पे सूजी बेट्स के मतलब 55 बॉल 60 बॉल में 50 टाइप नॉक ही चाहिए उनको. They just have to reach somehow, squirm their way to 120, and from there it is definitely their game, to lose. So yeah, it'll be interesting. But show me Bangladesh, South Africa. Optimism abhi bhi hai ki abhi nahi
नहीं
रहने
नहीं
दो.
साउथ अफ्रीका द प्रेडिक्शन तो ऑलवेज साउथ अफ्रीका है सो डेफिनेटली दैट्स देयर बट या इन द न्यूजीलैंड गेम आई डू बैक न्यूजीलैंड आई मीन आई वांट दिस वर्ल्ड कप टू रियली बी एक्साइटिंग सो या
All right, interesting. Of course, South Africa is a no-brainer. I genuinely think Sri Lanka stand a chance given the surface, given the conditions on offer. And also, हाँ, मेरे दिमाग में already वो story बन चुका है, तो वो arc अच्छा होगा, कि बहुत गंदी तरीके से हार के आए, तो जाके दिखा दिया कि हम में है दम. तो let's see, they are able to show their dum. And India also, in turn, will get to stay alive in the competition. So, thank you so much for tuning in, folks. Once again, please, all of you watching on Twitter, please hop on to YouTube. Make sure you hit the like button. Also subscribe to us. A lot of really quality content coming your way. And we'll take this one last comment that came in really at the 11th hour. Pava going on to say, brother, just tell me if you expect India to qualify to the semi-final without winning against Australia. Do you think they deserve to win the World Cup? भाई अगर ऐसा deserve ये सब शब्द यूज करोगे तो भाई ऑस्ट्रेलिया के अलावा कोई है नहीं. मतलब you really think every World Cup winner has been the deserved champions? Have you already forgotten what happened on the 19th of November 2023? It's not about who deserves. It's all about who won. That's all that matters. So who cares? किसको फर्क पड़ा है? किसी को नहीं. सिर्फ लोग ये याद रखेंगे कि 2023 का वर्ल्ड कप ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने जीता. सिमिलरली शुड इंडिया विन, लोग सिर्फ इतना याद रखेंगे कि कौन जीता, ना कि कौन डिजर्व्ड विनर था, कौन ऑन पेपर बढ़िया था. ये सब कोई नहीं देख रहा. So let us see. Anyways, that's that. Thank you so much once again. I know it is Friday night, so all of you guys enjoying. Make sure you stay hydrated. We will be back on the weekend discussing both the games and hopefully Sri Lanka's win as well. Until then, it's a goodbye from us.